Okay, my name is Douglas Thompson. I'm going to show you how to switch out your old sort of worn out sticks. These aren't too bad, but this is part of the first run that they had like the issues with the rubber to some new ones like this. And this is actually a controller that I customized. I stippled it and also stippled the triggers. And actually accidentally, but purposely, if that makes any sense, made to where the light bar doesn't work. I tried to make it not work, and then I couldn't make it not work, and then I accidentally made it not work. So I'm pretty happy about that. I don't know how it happened. I also stippled the options button and then these buttons here. But I actually had the same problem with this. You can see it's kind of starting to wear. This controller actually had significant wear on the right analog stick, so much so that it was like a flap, and I could actually lift up the flap, and it was really annoying to my thumb. So I peeled it off, and then I ended up just taking both the sort of rubber coating off of both these sticks, and then I ended up stippling it sort of how I did right here to make the sort of the texture grippier. But that's just an example of kind of what I did to make my controller better. And this controller feels like brand new now. Like I was thinking about sending it in to get them replaced, or getting a new controller, and I don't need to. This is the simple sort of fix for that. So these are the control sticks here. Nothing special about them. I bought 10 of these, 10 pieces, for $1.75, I think, on eBay, free shipping. I recommend you do that. I'm assuming they're from China or something. All you're gonna need is like some eyeglass, repair Phillips tip screwdrivers, and possibly a flathead, such as this. And that's just to help kind of pry it apart, because they have some tabs here. So first of all, there are 4 screws here located in the back. Now before you even begin to start taking this apart, be aware that both these triggers here, they kind of can come off, and there is a little spring that's kind of free floating, and it can fly off. So try to open it as carefully as possible. And then there's also a flat wire that leads from this sort of light bar area / charging area to the front of the controller, like kind of connecting to the circuit board that holds it all together. So when you pull it off, don't like yank it off. Pull it off and be as gentle with it as you can. So try to get the appropriate size screwdriver. You don't want to strip your screws and then have to either deal with no screw right there, or having to go down to the hardware store and ask them like, hey, do you have a super microscopic screw like this? And they're like, no. So I recommend getting like a little metal tin, or just something that you can put all your little screws in so you don't lose them. And then also the springs if it gets down to it. So I'm just putting it on there. If they end up coming loose, just so you don't lose them, because they're really small. The type of spring it is, you can get a hold of. I've seen that type of spring used in toys, all throughout my life. I've taken apart tons of stuff throughout my life. Airsoft stuff, especially if you're into airsoft stuff, there's a lot of AEG stuff that I'll show you the little springs when it comes time. But yeah, as I said, be gentle with these screws, and it is just threading into plastic. All 4 of these screws are the same length. There is one screw internally that is the same length, but it's a different type of screw. And it can be used interchangeably, but my OCD would kick in and be like, this screw isn't supposed to be here. So, and then, it doesn't mean that you'd be like that. So there are 2 plastic posts, one right here, that kind of slip over these covers. We have to be careful of that. And these things right here are actually connected to the shell, and then they're not part of this trigger assembly. So they're kind of separate. So you have to kind of lift it off, and then I'll show you. So you kind of pry it apart here. Be careful, because it kind of can. If it snaps, it's probably not a huge deal, and the screws will probably hold it together. but you'll have probably a creaky controller unnecessarily. Now what's going on here is there's two tabs here, and I haven't figured out quite the best way to kind of get in there, besides just kind of prying it open like that with a flathead. It will kind of probably mar up your controller, but this is to save you money. This is going to save you quite a bit of money. So this is the part where you want to be really careful, and you're going to hear some extra snaps, and you're not going to like how it sounds. But the controller is probably fine. Just be as gentle as possible. Now this is the part you want to be careful with, because you don't want to shoot these triggers off. If it happens, it's not a huge deal, but just kind of ease them off there. I'm going to try to make it to where it doesn't happen to me, but if it does, I guess it'll give you a good opportunity to see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I have successfully, I think, oops, spoke too soon. Okay. Well, I kind of screwed myself in the pooch here. You don't want to do one side, you want to do it like kind of evenly here. If it gets down to it, you can just pop this off. I guess this will be a good opportunity to show you. I don't want that spring to pop off. I might have to fast forward through this if it takes much longer than this. But by now you'll probably realize that this is all kind of a separate assembly. Like there's kind of three separate things. There's like this shell right here, this sort of touchpad and control sticks, buttons, and then this back part. And again, there's a flat cable right there that's connecting the light bar and the charging port to the main motherboard. Mothership. So you want to be careful with that. And if I can't, there you go. Okay, so you just want to be gentle there. And all you do is you pull this little blue tab. You can pull the blue tab, or you can pull the entire cable while applying pressure on the sort of battery pack. Not a whole lot, just to make it to where it doesn't follow you. And remember the orientation here. So these little copper or brass teeth, I don't know, circuit board connector things are going to be facing down towards this smaller part. So the teeth would be facing down if we were looking at it like this. And I'll go over that again when it comes time. Then we want to lift the battery pack out, and it's kind of hooked on right here by this little hook. So you don't want to pull too hard, and And this part I would kind of recommend some like needle nose pliers or something, because you don't want to pop these cables out. You want to be really gentle with them. But I've found that they are on there pretty good, as long as you grip them really tight with your fingers and then pull straight up. Don't like twist it at all. I do know that you can get different battery packs, and I think that they'll fit in here, some larger battery packs. So if your battery life is one of your concerns, you can replace these, I think, with higher milliamps or whatever. Set that aside. So you'll notice here this little rubber thing. This kind of confused me for a little bit. If this falls out, no big deal. This is just the reset button right here. It goes right there. And this is just the reset button, so you can push it with like a pin to resync your controller or so. So just search for that top. Well, if you're looking at it from the front, it's the top left. But if you're looking at it from this side, it's top right. It says reset. And there's a little slot that this little rubber thing goes into. So no worries if that thing pops out. Now there's another screw right here. This is the last screw you need to address in terms of changing out the control sticks. And I'll show you that it's a little bit different than the other screws, not by much. And like I said, it would work. If you lost one of the screws and for some reason you had to use this one or whatever, you could, or you just mixed them up. Not a big deal. I'll show you real quick though. It's the same thread pattern, or at least close enough. It looks a little bit smaller, but it would work. So the one on my right here is a little bit more of a pan head. This one's kind of more flat, and you can see that there's like ridges, like lines on the top of it. This one's shinier in my right hand. that in there. Now, this part, before you pull it, this little white cable right here, there's a little blue tab, and you just pull that, and you might need some pliers or something. Set that down there, such as these. If you could get needle nose pliers, that'd probably be easier, but pretty much anything will work. Just gently pull this out. There you go. Don't pull it back like far. Just pull it like just right to where it pops out. And then this entire assembly will separate. There you go. One of the buttons just fell out. It's no big deal. These are the little share buttons and whatnot. Before you put it all back together, you do want to make sure all your buttons are aligned properly. Now, if these little options and share buttons fall out, you may look at them and be like, oh, which one goes where? This little tab on the side here will indicate where it goes. So, and then notice that the top and bottom have slightly different size guides, if you want to call them that. So they'll only fit in one direction. I don't know of any One Direction songs, but I would have sang one right there if I did. They only fit in one direction. Okay. So here's your shells and stuff. And this is the part you want to address. And this looks space age, doesn't it? Actually, it looks more like it's from the 80s to me. But if you see right here, this is, can you see that? This right here is like the pivot point. I'm going to snap that in place of your trigger here. And that little spring, so if you're looking at the back here, the spring on the left trigger, L2, is kind of right here, in line with here, and then the right one is kind of in line right here. The spring goes in the middle. Really pretty easy to figure out. Like if the springs pop out, you can just here, I'll just show you just in case this happens, because it might confuse some people. I'm going to be gentle and pop this off, or try to. I'm trying to break it. Okay. It's not working with me here. Okay. So this is what it looks like. And if they both pop off somehow on you, like not only will the L2 and R2 indicate which ones they are, but the post here is actually longer on one side, so this spring actually can't fit on the other side. So it is very figure-outable. So you'll notice on the inside there's a little tab. Sorry if I'm doing that off screen. There's a little tab that this spring will rest on if the spring pops off. And you want to kind of pre-engage the spring. You want to make sure that everything's lined up properly here. But there's a little slot. Oops, and this is how small the spring is. So you want to make sure not lose that. So there's a little slot. Sorry, I'm doing that off camera again. Right here. And it's about the same size as the spring. It's a little bit bigger. But you'll see it. It's a guide for the spring. If you're in person, you'd be able to recognize it easily. That's where it's supposed to go. But the spring needs to be in a certain orientation. And that was probably the worst thing that could have happened almost. I almost lost that damn little spring. So it goes in a certain orientation, like this. And then that spring is actually kind of in the middle. It doesn't go onto the far right or the far left. It actually goes in that little slot. And you have to kind of pre-engage the spring and then snap it in place. Make sure you know, the stuff goes down properly and doesn't feel like there's resistance. Okay, so now let's get to the control sticks. I just wanted to show you that kind of stuff because it's real important, and if you were to put it back together, it might get pretty frustrating. These just literally slide off. There's nothing to it. Now here's the problem here. This rubber coating. Let's see if I can get this light on here better. This rubber coating here actually just peels off, and that's what happened with the first production run here. And like, so your thumbs would kind of dig into it and actually just make it to where it cuts the rubber there. And this is just like silicone stuff or whatever. And then it would just be like this. And I made it to where it worked, and I stippled this similar to how I did with this grippy texture, and it worked, but it was just kind of too slick, and I was just done with it. So these new control sticks, those are garbage after you're done with them. These new control sticks here aren't like the same type of rubber. They're just a little bit better, and they don't come off as easy. So that's the difference. Just make sure everything's lined up. These just literally slide on. You want to, not be too hard on it, of course, but you don't have to be crazy gentle for it to go on there properly. Just slide it on. There you go. Look at those fresh sticks. Oh, it already feels like a new controller. You'll be surprised, like when you get it all back together, how much better it actually feels, and you just don't notice it unless you get it to this point, So okay, so now we want to start connecting everything back together. Make sure our buttons are where they should be and everything. So we want to just slide this in. Control 6 first, and then we want to not forget about that little cable there, because that would be frustrating to have to go back and do that. So there's these two little posts here which would hold the controller together that you want to slide it down into, and there's little guide holes. So you want to make sure everything's seated down. Okay, so everything's kind of in there. Now we can replace that one pan head, that sort of rounder head screw, with a little bit smaller thread pattern there. My hand's a little bit shaky because I haven't eaten just yet. And that just kind of locks the circuit board down. Again, I don't know if I said this before, but you don't have to be super tight with the screws. Just hand tight to where you just can't tighten it down anymore. Okay, let's get this thing back in here, which is actually easy to do with your hand. You just got to make sure it's in the correct thing, the correct hole. It's definitely easier if you have smaller hands, I'll tell you that. I'm going to actually do it with pliers just so I can get on the road here. It should slide in pretty gently. If I could get it lined up. I hope I'm doing this on screen. I'm not. Now this doesn't normally take this long. I'm just fumble fingers right now. Okay, that's it. Just want to slide it in. Make sure it's in all the way. Okay. That appears to be in all the way. Okay. Now we want to replace our battery pack. And you want to grab it kind of by the cables again. And there is a little line on the top here that is not present on the other side. You want to line that line up with the outside right here. You'll see the line. Just push straight down. You want to loop your cables back into that little hook. This is not an essential step, but it kind of helps for cable management. So if you're looking like this, you're looking good. You want to replace your reset button. It kind of just slides in there. I get some dust on it there. And if you lose that, no huge deal. If you're at this video and you're frustrated and you're like, oh, I lost my reset button thing, not a huge deal. If you have to, just take apart your controller. Now, you want the golden whale teeth on the bottom here. If you're looking at the controller like this, you want the golden whale teeth on the bottom. And you want to kind of put it up to the controller so you know how the cable should be bent. And then kind of put it on, because if you put it on kind of all janky and bent up, then you might have some problems in the future, and if you have to do this a bunch of times, you don't want your cable getting worn out. Okay, so the cable is connected. At this point, we can line up our bridges, I don't know what you want to call it, with where they should go, right in there. And you might notice that it looks like it's not going to go right here and right here. And it actually has a little bit of flex. You just want to be very careful. And you want to apply some pressure right here at the very tip. At the same time, pushing down on both sides here evenly in kind of one fluid motion. Make sure that they are in the correct position before you do this, because you don't want to pop your control sticks off. Okay, and then you just slide them down. Again, as gentle as possible. Okay, at this point, you can kind of just start lining things up. So if things are a little bit out of alignment, you can make them work. And I'm not sure why I'm getting so much resistance here. What's going on? Oh, okay, so right there is kind of tight there. Okay, so I just needed to push forward right here to get past this stuff. Now you want to get these clips back on there. Just literally clip them back on. Make sure it's kind of tight. And at this point, I mean, you could literally just play with it right now and it's good to go. At this point, you'd want to test it before you start screwing things back down. You want to test it and make sure everything's working correctly, correctedly. And then you could replace your last 4 remaining screws. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope this video helped you out. Be sure and like the video, subscribe, and I will have future videos that relate to helpful things. I don't know how else to put it.